since we're on the subject of Scripture, and specifically the New Testament, and talking about this character Paul, we have all these statements from Jesus before ascending, and none of them tell us about this great new leader that's coming of the church.
Right.
He didn't specifically say, like, so when he was just before he ascended, he says, here's James. He's going to be your leader now. That would have been a really good time to say, James is going to be the leader of the church until I'm sending one to lead you into all truth in the masculine. Not what he said. He said, it's better that he leaves so that he can send the one to lead into all truth. I know who that one was, not just by studying languages in Scripture, but also by, and I'll divulge this today, through experience. But when he met Maria Magdalene after the resurrection, and she went to hug him, he wouldn't let her, because it wasn't time yet. Wasn't yet time for the feminine to come lead into all truth. And the significance behind sending her to tell the 12 in the upper room is the significance of the hemisync that we're going to talk about here shortly, which will allow you to experience all truth. But I'm going to recommend a book for everybody, and it sucks that I have to do this. I don't agree with the what would be the word to use? The supposition of Joseph Atwill. But he wrote an excellent book from a historical standpoint called Caesar's Messiah. You can also see an hour-long documentary on YouTube about the book if you just search Caesar's Messiah and decide whether you want to get it or not. But George Atwill's theory is that and there's much of this I agree with. His theory is that the text that was used to create the Bible in 325 AD was composed of and compiled by the Jewish historian Josephus, the Roman general Titus, his brother Flavian, what was his first name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. His Vespasian. His brother became Caesar after AD 7 or 69 or 70, which is why Paul magically was allowed to leave Patmos. And then luckily for us, they didn't understand the Aramaic enough that they got Philo from Alexandria to come help. And I believe, it's my contention, that thanks to Philo, we have what we have. Buried in code called the Aramaic language of the New Testament.
Yep. And this is why I have said, and why I wanted us to carry this conversation, because just for those of you guys who are hearing this for the first time, when Steve and I started talking about this, I got a little stirred. And if any of you saw my interview with Global Witness, when Ken and I were talking with Derek and Malia, you could see that there was a little bit of a polarity going on when we started discussing Paul. But that was because I was coming from the Aramaic side of it, not the English side of it. And because the code is in there and it was worded specifically, there is such truth in the Aramaic writings that have just knocked my socks off. I mean, I'm in tears with these things, but it loses everything when it gets translated into Greek and then into English. It just loses it. So anyway, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that was a huge point of contention I had with you. And we weren't fighting about it. I was just really wrestling. And usually you can tell when I wrestle is when I start shifting in my seat and I'm changing position because I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And then you landed the plane on Philo and I was like, oh, thank you, because I see the beauty in the Aramaic. You can't deny it in there.
And, you know, just like in the Old Testament, I've been wrestling with this for a while. I mean, this isn't a new revelation for me. Talking about it is new.
Right.
And, you know, I haven't done anything new on my Aramaic Gospel channel since the end of last year. Specifically for this reason. Like, you know, like where do you go from here?
Right.
Other than just when the Father kind of opens a door for it, you just step through it and see how that ride goes, so to speak. And I'm just going to say this because I know I've said this a lot, but my analogy for your incarnation is a ride at the amusement park Earth. And I think we come in at the gates of amusement park Earth, we come up and there's a whole bunch of avatars there. And next to each avatar is a list of shit you're going to experience.
We call it the SIM card. So if anybody wants to go through like the gene keys or what is the other thing that's connected to gene keys? What is the other one, Ken? It's the gene keys and human design. There we go. If you want to understand what we're talking about, that you can go into gene keys and human design, AKA your SIM card that is attached to the avatar. So
depending on the path of your spiritual evolution, you may get there in line and just, as we say down in Louisiana, bow up and pick out an avatar and a SIM card that's a little bit big for your britches.
Generally, I think that's the way it goes on all of them. Because that's how we grow. I mean, without that, there's no catalyst. You're not going to grow. Why would I want to repeat the same ride over and over and over and over again without a new experience? That would be maddening.
So why does God let bad people get rich and famous? I'll tell you. Next time you come back, you go, you know what? I died in a gas chamber in Germany last time. I'm going to be P. Diddy this time.
Right.
That's how that happens.
Right.
And they take their experience from their former into the new, and they become a bad person that's rich and famous. And that's a ride as well.
It is.
You know, it's so you can't just leave all your stuff at the door from the last ride you were on, especially if you didn't do anything about it. Like if you resisted the whole ride, like if you sat in the back with your arms closed and your eyes shut, you're going to carry a lot of crap to your next ride. However,
I know this intimately.
If you get in the front of the damn thing and put your hands in the air and have as much fun as you can, the next ride's going to be a lot better. So we'll just move on from that. But that's why I say, dude, your ride is your ride. Mm-hmm. You know, and spiritual violence occurs when you're expecting everyone else to be on the same ride you're on.
Exactly.
And you have communities that get together that are all on a similar ride, and some of them on the same ride, and that's okay too. But just
that's part of the experience,
right? But to bash another community because they're on a different ride than you is a great confession of your spiritual immaturity.
Agreed.
So back to Joseph Atwill's book, and he goes through it in pains, and it's Atwill, Atwill. The book is Caesar's Messiah, and he painstakingly, with other people, goes through historically what went down prior to AD 70 and just after. And it is obvious what happened.
Yeah.
It is obvious that they destroyed the first church, the way, as it was known.
They did.
And which is why the character Paul was on the road to Emmaus. He was heading up to Qumran to get rid of them all, and he did.
Yes. Yep.
And then in Acts, where it says, this is one of my biggest pet peeve in the so-called inerrant Word of God. So supposedly you got this guy, Stephen, whom I'm named after, which makes it even better, who is waiting tables on orphans and widows because he's a deacon, and that's what they were doing. And then next thing you know, he's in the Sanhedrin speaking for the church, speaking for the way. I don't think so. That was James. Historically, that was James. That's exactly how and where James died. They threw him down the steps of the temple that the Sanhedrin was in, and then they stoned him while Titus, they call him Saul of Tarsus in the Bible, but his name was Titus, held everybody's coats, basically, and watched in glee as they killed James. You can follow that cat if you want to. But that's what happened. Even in the Bible, they just changed the names to protect the innocent, so to speak. But it wasn't Stephen, and it wasn't Saul.
Or protect the guilty.
Mm-hmm. But then the other part of that is that Paul's two conversion stories. You would have thought if you were going to conspire to kill all the Essenes, kill all the Essene leadership, and then you magically meet Jesus in the place he said, if somebody comes to you from the desert saying they saw a light, don't follow them. But we did. And we did because that was the plan. Like I said in the last podcast, Caiaphas prophesied about it. Jesus prophesied about it when he said, they're going to put the Son of Man, the physical body, up on a tree and draw all men to it. It was the plan. It was the plan so in the first crucifixion, the Son of Man, according to Jesus, was crucified. Son of Man, physical, flesh. Adam was distorted.
Exactly. And it was humanity got distorted. And see, this is where I'm just drilling down on that because we've been so programmed. We hear the word Adam and we instantly connect it to one individual named Adam and another individual named Eve. And these are like super fantastic stories that we built everything on, and we learned them when we were children, and we just go there instead of really drilling down to say that it means humanity.
So this is the answer to the question. So what was the purpose of the cross then? It was to crucify humanity so that the one that leads you into all truth, the feminine, can come do that.
Okay, this is so good. I'm feeling, I got goosebumps all over right now. Like, oh, I'm lit up like a Christmas tree. Now, this is why, oh my gosh, this is why Chavah was pulled out of Adam. Chavah is the mother of all living. It was not a female named Eve. The feminine energy was pulled out of humanity, which caused it to fall in its consciousness.
And be distorted.
So that's why Chavah, the mother of living, has to come, and why Yahshua said she must come.
Right.
Because it is feminine. So just to let you know, I've been wanting to share this for a while. I've had this on this board for like, I don't know, several weeks now, because it was a conversation Ken was having with our group on Patreon. And we were looking at it and I'm like, I need to share this. I need to share this. So the word for brother is ak. The word for sister is akot. And the word for the mother of all living is Chavah. What's so fascinating about this is that whenever you see like a hay, which is spirit breath, but it's the revelation or the behold, it's an emanation, a spiritual movement that is waiting to be completed. So Chavah, it ends in a hey. Achot ends in a tav. A brother and a sister, these are energies of masculine energy and a feminine energy that are connected. But the root that brings this all together so that we are a brother and a sister, because it has brother right in there. Brother is right in there. It doesn't just diminish it. The energy that connects the two is Chavah, the mother of all living. This is also connected to Chaya. The only difference is that the Yod is there instead of the Vav. The Aleph is there instead of the Hey. So in maturation, when we connect to the mother of all living, she leads us into Chaya. Again, this because the Yod is always seeking a Vav. The Aleph and the Hey are interchangeable because they are the spirit breath. So when we get into the word Chaya, it's the same word for salvation. Ah! Go!
Right.
Champagne, everyone!
So let's go back.
You into all truth. Those who worship the spirit realm as the real.
Right.
As truth. The mother of all living leads you to that. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. I just got super excited on that.
No, that's awesome because
it's fun still.
This is literally one of those other things that your pastor could never explain to you.
Never did for me.
Jesus is resurrected. Here comes Mary, the apostle that he loved.
Yes.
Historically, which by the way, that was the original name of the book of John. It's the only text that's in the New Testament that can be attributed to somebody else, and yet what was his name? Irenaeus' father supposedly overheard John saying something, so they changed the name of it. But
because the early church couldn't have had a female do that.
Well, no. So James wouldn't have had a problem with that, and I know for sure
but
John
Peter
didn't.
Did.
Right, but Peter did. Correct. And where's Peter buried? Where's Peter buried again?
Somebody in Rome. In Rome.
Yeah. So he got what he wanted. Wasn't he always wanting to sit at the right hand of Jesus? Yeah, he got his physical appointed leadership position. He got it. So, but there's Mary, the representative of the divine feminine, Maria, divine light, Magdalena, which both of them together means feminine tower of divine light. And she wants to hug him, embrace him. And he says, I haven't ascended yet. This goes back to go to the upper room and wait.
Exactly.
Go tell the 12 cranial nerves, apostles, that I'm coming. And yeah. And he rolls in there. And that, my friends, is the picture of salvation. So, but something else had to happen. So when Jesus said it is finished, he was speaking about the crucifixion of humanity. He was not saving you from his pissed off dad. He was freeing humanity from the idea of a distorted, masculine, physical nature. So, and then it is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that he was pierced, just like you will be. So how do you kill a thought form, Carrie? How do you?
There you go.
Yeah. How do you crucify a thought form of a fallen nature? of original sin, of sacrifices. How do you kill that thought form of namosa? How do you kill it?
Well, if I were to answer it, because I'm sure this is more rhetorical than anything else, the only way you can do that is through Aureta. That's the only way you can do it.
All right. So your physical nature experiences brutal punishment.
Keep talking.
They put a crown of thorns on your head to make fun of you. You're divine. Yeah, here you go. And you take up your own cross to Golgotha.
The place of the skull.
Right. But you're not that thought form, that distorted the distorted masculine thought form doesn't die until it is pierced. And
Het-Lamed. Okay, keep going.
And out, when you're pierced, what comes out? The blood, the life of the thought form, and the water, which stores all the data. The SIM card of the thought form is the water.
Boom. So this pay on the suffix side of this word, this is the root, by the way. So pay can be spelled with either a yod, an aleph, or a hey. And it is the word or a letter with those spellings that mean mouth that speaks. You've got a vision, you've got thought form, you've got the inhale, you've got the exhale. All that is in this. What's so fascinating, because the first two letters are piercing, right? This right here is the letter for life. So let me just put a little yod right here. Because Kai is the shortened form of Chaya, and it means life. Then you have the Lamed Pei. This is an authoritative position, and it's in the center of the word. So it means it's dealing with your heart that has been instructed, that is studied, that is put together, that is compiled, that has learned. That has to do with your heart. And so then here, the mouth is speaking, but each one of these are dynamic actions. So through this piercing in life, you are going to be able to speak and create, because all three of these have to do with the essence of the unseen. That's the power of creation as a creator. Do you know what this word is in its root? It's okay if you don't remember. I don't know if people will. It is the same word. It means alter, change, transmute. It's the root of the word that said that Yahshua or Ishu was transfigured, altered, changed before them. Same root word. The only thing else I want to bring attention to, When you put that yalaf in there, you have the yod, lamed, pei, because just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, because this is the esoteric word for life, or the letter. So the yod is already there because that's the divine spark. Do you know what yalaf is? Yalaf, this is so good. Yalaf is the word that means teaching and instruction. It is the advanced teachings that have been hidden. The external teachings are the lamed. This is why the disciples were called the Talmudihu, because it's a tav, lamed, ihu. They had already learned all that they needed to from the divine masculine. They were already built in form. They had the divine masculine teachings of the day, right? Inverted, distorted masculine, but they learned, right? But lamed has a mem in the middle, and that letter means chaos. They still had chaos on the inside because, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps again. Because the distorted masculine in the form, the way it was, it never dealt with the heart issue. So they still had chaos on the inside.
Inside the cup. Yep.
So then Yahshua said that he came to teach them. Yalaf. Yod and Aleph are interchangeable. You know what's so amazing about that? If they are interchangeable, because in Gematria, one is a 1 or 1,000, the other is 10, you take out all the zeros, you odd them out, they still have the frequency of 1, Aleph. These are the teachings that bring you life into oneness unity, where you have become one with the essence of the unseen that is in and through everything. This is the dynamic portion of it. And even though you don't see it in this word to mean change, alter, and transmute, these hidden teachings do that. This is salvation. This is kaya. This is what leads you into Aureta, which sets you free from the namosa, the teachings, the lamed from the Talmudihu disciples that were in the distorted masculine. Oh,
Right.
so incredible. And one more thing, because there's always more. When you take, and we've shared this before, I'm going to write it out, and you can actually take it to where it needs to be. Pei, lamed, Aleph, Pela.
Yeah.
Pela. It's the permutation for the word Aleph, lamed, pei, which is the Aleph, which is the essence of the unseen. As you have shared before, Mount Pela is where the ones that were surviving the destruction of the temple went up to watch it and observe. And that word Pela means a wondrous sign. Ah!
Yes. So let's.
And it ends in the Aleph, which is feminine.
Right. So let's tie the two thieves in with this now, so people can really start.
Perfect. Let's do it.
So
I got goosebumps all over again.
Right. So here we have two thought forms, two thieves on each side of the teachings of oneness, Aureta. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the symbol for the first thief, for the first thought form? The symbol of that thought form is a serpent. And just as Moses
lifted up the serpent
right, on a tree in the desert,
right,
so will, looking at
oh my God,
the other thief, raise up the Son of Man.
That serpent was bronze. Keep going.
Yeah.
Just, I got to hold that. There's a reason why I'm saying that. Okay, now keep going.
So just as Moses raised up a symbol of the first thief, thought form, distortion of the divine masculine, just as that, they're going to raise up the Son of Man, the physical body of Jesus, onto a tree and create a new thought form. Just as all thought forms have symbols that evoke emotion. All
Yes.
thought forms have
Yes.
symbols that evoke emotion. Go ahead.
Which then makes it into the subjective side.
Right.
So this is
Subconscious.
why I was freaking out a little bit, because one of the pictures that Ken and I have talked about, and there's many others that are aware of this too, this is not a new concept, but was really being drilled home to us, was about the wilderness tabernacle. And in the progression of the stages of the metals that were being used as you went from the outer courts into the inner courts, into the holy place, and into the holy of holies, the most holy place, what was on the external side? Bronze, the brazen altar, right? And then as you move into where it was fenced off, everything began to be in silver. So you have a thought form that is in bronze, the one thief. Then you have the other thought form that is in silver. So it's a step up.
30 pieces,
step up, right?
30 pieces of silver.
So it takes you into the silver, and we hold there until we're invited into where the gold is. But there's still one step further, the fine gold, which is the holy of holies. Now, I postulate, and I've said this many times, that whenever you look at the writings and you see two words, of course, they already know this, that whenever something like when Ishu would say truly, truly, right? Truly, truly, that it was double emphasis. The way Ken and I have seen it, and that it was shared with us through the Spirit, it's mother and father that are in agreement. So the holy of holies, it's holy, holy. Mother and father is what takes you. So the masculine and the feminine energy is what takes you into the holy of holies, where you become the chariot throne of the cherubim, the Ark of the Covenant. You are a witness that has a testimony to the power of the masculine and the feminine energies. And that is directly connected to the Merkaba. Directly. Yes. Oh, so good.
And you can only experience that in heart-mind coherence.
Yes.
And in hemisync.
Yes. And that is why that menorah was in the holy place, to point us to that direction, because of the illumination that was in with all of that gold. Everything shone with bright light in the holy place that nobody got to see. That is why the way is called Orach, or Orech. The way, Orech, or is the word for light. It's the way of light. Anyway, keep going. I interrupted you again. I just get so excited.
So let's look. Heart-mind coherence.
Yep.
Hemisync.
Yep.
What is that?
There's your cross.
Right.
Which is the symbol, the paleo symbol for the Tav, completion.
And from there, and this is what I want to warn everybody. So this is what I've been wrestling with, guys. You will be pierced.
I'm just writing it one more time.
Yep.
Het lamed hey.
You will be pierced, and from that piercing, you will experience all truth. Your higher self will not allow you, just like back in the garden, you cannot eat from both trees. You got to kill one. You can't eat from the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. You can't. And your higher self will not let you do it. But if you do kill the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that state of consciousness, and get into heart-mind coherence and hemisync, and you go there with the intention, your higher self will pierce you and allow you to experience whatever in the heck it is that you're needing to experience at that time. See, we've been given something now. We've been given a gift. For now, I think that the next incarnation, the veil of remembering is going to be gone, but we'll see.
Yes. No, I totally 100% agree with that. I mean, all my chips in are on that one. And the reason why I say that is because why would it not be when every incarnation is a place of advancement? So in this incarnation, when we enter into the oneness unity, when we begin to remember, we had to work through all of that with incarnation after incarnation, taking that which we learned from the previous, even though it was still hidden from us, it was already built within our SIM card. It's like, okay, I shattered that mirror. I don't have to go through that one again. So I'm going to have a new experience, a new ride. And once I get done with that and I've learned it, I shatter that mirror and I go from glory to glory.
Right.
So if you've already started remembering in this density,
yes,
the veil is being removed. And that's why I'm glad that you brought up the hemisync. I'm still in the beginning stages of that. I want to share one more thing about this.
Yep.
This word in its permutation, so it's in its opposite form. So the pei would come first, then the lamed and the het. So if pei is speaking and it has to do with thought forms that create manifest, like we know the word abracadabra, right?
Right.
It has to do with that which I speak, I create. And we know the pei is directly connected to that. When you reverse this order and it becomes pelach, it is a word that means to serve or worship. So to serve and worship something that is a thought form that is going to instruct your heart to be separate, because that het also means to separate. Mm-hmm. So when you flip it around and you take that thought form as the egregor, that which has been created that somebody brought forth through speech, abracadabra, and you teach your heart with it, you are automatically causing separation from that which is going to alter, transmute, and change you. Right there. That is a word for worship. That is a word for to serve.
Correct. So
that's what happens when you put yourself under a thought form.
Now, I promised I would reveal this in this podcast. So I've just started with the hemisync, and I do a lot of breath work. I do a lot of Wim Hof breath work and cold water, and but I'll tell you that, and I've been for probably 5 years now. I've been going to sleep, doing some Joe Dispenza meditation for the purpose of getting into a higher state of consciousness before this Sabbath rest. That's a real Sabbath rest.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that the human body goes into rest and restoration while we leave it. I'm going to say that again. The human body goes into a rest and restoration when we leave it at night. And to be away from the body is to be one with Maria.
So good.
Divine light, yes. And when the intention is worshiping the spiritual realm as reality, as Jesus told the Samaritan woman, that's what he is called in the English a true worshiper, not a correct worshiper.
Right.
A true worshiper,
right,
worships in the spiritual realm as reality. So I've been going to bed for many years with that intention, but it wasn't until hemisync that I started to travel out of the body. And not only have I researched it in the physical realm, this Paul character in Josephus, by the way, he changed his name to Flavius Josephus because Titus and Vespasian were Flavians. So they adopted this little Jewish historian to help them do what they did to portray.
That's why he's known as a traitor to that Jewish community.
So they created text that turned Vespasian into the hero on the white horse, dripped in, with a sword dripped in blood. That is a picture of Vespasian. It's why they didn't put the book of Revelation in the Bible for a long time, almost close to 1,000 years. But so I've studied all that. I've studied the life of John, and that it's historically accurate that John was taking care of, the Bible even says this, Mary in Ephesus, which was the center of this Paul character's ministry. That's a huge coincidence. So then you have these letters being, from my experience of travel, of witnessing, Titus was the letter carrier between John and Timothy, who, when he was exiled, we don't know if his name is really Timothy, but John left somebody else in charge of Mary. And this is the character Timothy. If that's his name, it's his name. It doesn't matter. But in my experience, in my travels, this all lines up with Joseph Atwill's work and history, what's there, and that this Paul character, after his epiphany in the desert, decided to go to Ephesus and have a book burning of all Essene literature.
Of course.
That John and Mary would have.
That's right.
As the last remaining sole survivors of the actual church.
The way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a coincidence that this Paul character ends up telling Timothy to not let the woman teach. Because she was teaching the way.
Of course.
She was teaching that.
She intimately knew it.
She was teaching the feminine, because that was her job.
Yes.
Was the one to lead into all truth. She was teaching that everything came from the feminine, which this character Paul had a conniption fit over. And said, don't let her teach that. Everybody knows that Adam came before Eve. So here's your clue. You didn't have a clue what he was talking about. There he is teaching distorted masculine again. That's not what she was teaching.
No.
She wasn't teaching about a dude Adam being put unconscious and having a piece of his body taken out and forming an actual female human body.
Nope. Not at all.
So, right. So he tells her, don't let the woman teach, which of course the church of the thought form has turned into women can't be pastors and, yada,
well, they
yada.
can't, they certainly can't be doing what I've been doing.
No, you can't teach a man. That's what, so that is part that there's proof that that's a thought form. Yeah. We go from the being they claim to follow in Yahshua Jesus, whose favorite apostle was a woman, to don't let the woman teach. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So, and this reminds me of something. So let's go back to that thing. It is finished. The distorted masculine has been crucified. Its lifeblood and SIM card have been removed. It's done. That's the purpose of the cross, right? And so then we have this, and so then they go to the upper room, and James and Mary head the new church the way. And the feminine could have led into all truth at that point, but it was destroyed. And we know who it was destroyed by historically, which gives way to this new thought form So if the way that Jesus taught, the way to the Father, if the gate was narrow and the way was narrow, and it doesn't come with observation, meaning it's not visible, it's within you and around you. If that's what he was teaching, and the purpose of the cross was to reveal the death of the distorted masculine, and the only physical act to be remembered when preaching the way would be the feminine washing the feet of the distorted masculine representation. It was his physical body. It was the Son of Man. You have divine feminine washing the dirty feet of the Son of Man. That's what's coming.
That's
right. What's coming. That's what Mary was trying to do. So that's either the gospel. So what he taught, the way, is either the gospel, and I'm full of crap, or Jesus and Caiaphas were correct when they said the dude hanging on the tree is going to bring everybody together. They're going to draw all men to it. Caiaphas, bring everybody together, the dude on the tree. Mm-hmm. And this Paul says that the gospel is the dude on the tree, the death, burial, and resurrection of a physical, the death, burial, and resurrection of a distorted masculine is that gospel.
Right. Well, and did you know that word gospel, it's I'm not going to pronounce it right, but in the Aramaic writings, it's like evangelion. I mean, it's where we get evangelism from.
Yeah.
That is a Greek word. There's literally no Aramaic word as it's translated. They had to literally bring a Greek word into the text to support the Pauline letters in what the gospel was.
Right.
Because it was known as the way.
Right. So that's literally the proof that he really said, when the way is taught, this is what you're going to remember. That what's coming, see, he said what was coming. There is one leading into all truth. There is one that's going to wash your dirty feet.
Because your walk
before you.
Yeah, because your walk has been in all of the lies that we've inherited, the dung. Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted, this word popped up because it was in my study this morning, and I didn't see this before until we started talking, and it's like, I got goosebumps again. This is the word Nazar. This is where we get the word Nazarene from. This is really interesting, because in my handy dandy little reference book that I use here, this word, I'm going to share with you what it is, but this word in one of its definition means to become a Christian.
Right.
Okay, now, let me share with you the other portion of it, because I have it in my notes. Again, I'm compiling lots of notes as I'm studying these things, because the Nazar, it means to guard, to watch and keep, those who have watched, guarded, and kept, and those who observe it, those who keep a secret and keep it close.
That's what a Nazarene was.
Yes. Nazarene. Yes. Oh, it was condensed to the Nazarene, but it's the Essenes, the Nazars, those who keep and guard and protect this and keep it a secret and keep it close to their heart. Now, this is where it's fascinating. This is where I started getting goosebumps, because I wasn't looking at it. I'm just putting all the data in this morning, right? I'm just taking all the rough pieces and I'm grabbing from here and here. And I didn't get to sit on it this morning because I was just grabbing pieces. This zadi has been placed in the middle. A zadi in like the basic meanings, to hunt and chase after something. Nun resh is the contracted form of the word for light. Nura, light and fire, nura, which is also connected to the moon, which is connected to feminine energy. So you have to hunt and chase after that on the inside, that which is the light, the flame, the fire, which is connected to the feminine, which is connected to those who converted. The early Christians were the Nazar Essenes. Oh, so good. And so what I didn't see was this noon rush. It clicked into right now. The Spirit said, you're missing something. Go back to that word. Take a look.
Right. And then the Paul character comes along, kills them all, kills all the Essenes, Nazarite Essenes, and then creates Christians. And they were first called Christians at Antioch, not Qumran.
Right.
Right. So
go ahead.
So this is what I'm going to tell everybody, because this is a subject that could, just like food, is very emotional.
Extremely
Emotional situation. I'm going to tell you this, now that I've said all that, after years of study on this, it doesn't matter. You literally, if you don't want to go, we're all on different rides, and Carrie and I are obviously on a ride that we're on. We're doing it. But if you just want to worship in the spiritual realm as reality, there's very little you have to do except believe what Yahshua said in the language that he said. And what he's told everybody was, in various different forms, various different idioms and teachings, is that eternal life comes from a state of consciousness called oneness.
That's right.
And our job is, and on the ride we're on, is to immerse you into the nature of that.
Yep.
Of Allah, the one and only being, of the eternal Son, the Son of God, the one and only Son, who we all are part of, fractals of,
yep,
and the whole, complete, one breath Spirit of God. That's people that are making disciples. That's what they do, and we're doing that right now. But if you want to repent, Jesus was right. If you want to find the kingdom, the one that comes without observation, the one that's in you and around you, to find it, you must repent, which means to turn inward. Change your focus from worshiping external forms. Thought forms matter. Change your focus from external forms to the internal worship of the spiritual realm as reality. And if you will get heart-mind coherence, your heart has been left out. Your heart has been turned into what the Jews called a scapegoat. And
yep,
I'm not going to open that can of worms, but you can do that if you want. You can Google that one. But the heart has been turned into a scapegoat, and it's been trampled upon for long enough. But where the two become one works in literally everything that we've been talking about, masculine, feminine, and heart and mind. And from that place internally, you can, if you seek it with that intention, with sincerity, you will find it in your higher self, in the feminine, the one that leads into all truth, the ones who have been in hemisync, married. You'll see what you need to see. Like I said earlier, I'm not on your ride.
no,
but there is something waiting for you. There is a treasure that's waiting for you to uncover. It's never going to happen in the form outside.
No.
Never.
No, as a matter of fact, the form on the side of duality gets to the place where you are seeing that everything is so futile and vain in the system of duality that it's lacking substance, that it drives you inward to reconcile these things.
Mm-hmm.
This word yeshav is the root for the word repent. We've seen it written many times in the Hebrew. The expression is teshuvah. This word yeshav means to repent. It means to turn around, to settle, but it's also the word that means to settle as married.
Correct.
Now, the reason why it's so exciting on this is because, again, the yod and the aleph are interchangeable. If you didn't have that there, this still is a representation of fire, because it's olive sheen, but this is the active form of fire. Bet is on the inside, and it means inside, it means built, it means family. So yeshav, when we marry ourselves on the inside through the fire, because the fire comes when the two are kindled together, when they come together, masculine and feminine energy, and the chakras all light up, but you have to build it on the inside. This right here is showing and sharing with us that this is what happens in the alchemical transmutation of us marrying. And it starts with this. Yod Shin is a word that means a being of substance. When you add the aleph in front of it, this is the word for man. Adam becomes Ish. This is the marrying of the Isha and the Ish that come together as one in the middle. Oh my gosh. So when you look in the language and you see the word when they write it as Ish, and then it can be Isha, but when you see this, Aleph Yod Shin, this is the fire that comes from the masculine and feminine energy when they get together and they bring their spark of life together on the inside. It's fire, it's masculine, it's feminine, because they've married themselves together. This is moving Adam to the Ish.
And in the age to come, you will no longer marry or be given in marriage. The age
it won't be external.
Is the internal realm.
That's right. So
that's
that fire dwells.
Yeah, that's another one your pastor can't explain. There's so many things he said that the pastor can't explain. Now,
the reason why that is in there, that when they say that they'll be like the angels. Okay, one more. I'm getting all excited. I can't help it. I'm so word oriented. This is like my love language is words. By the way, words of affirmation is it's like my top love language. So of course I'm going to fall in love with the language. It's like personal love notes to me.
Well, mine
is the word. Go ahead.
I'm a man. So physical touch and quality time.
Well, physical touch is my second. First is words of affirmation, physical touch. So I get that. I totally get that. I see that. And it's good for people to know these. It's really good for you to know what your love languages are. It will make for healthy marriages.
Well, it's one of your archetypes. So it helps.
That's right. Your SIM card. Malaka. Here's the word for angel. If you didn't have the aleph on the inside or on the suffix, it's the word for king. When you add the aleph on the suffix side, it becomes queen. It's a king and queen that found oneness on the inside. So when it says that you will not be given in marriage, you'll be like the angels, is because the angels, this is a word that means messenger, it means teacher, it means priest, and it means prophet. We have this distorted view of what we think angels are. These are those that are the kings and queens, masculine, feminine energy, that have become one on the inside. Now look at this. That's the word for word. Think of Melfa. Inspired divine speech. They are completely filled. Completely filled with the word, as the word becoming flesh, that it did what it was supposed to through the way, the Aureta through the Orech, and they have become one.
Right. So
good.
So everybody that's watching, so we can wrap this up.
Yes. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes already. My goodness, time flies.
This is what Jesus taught. It has been mistranslated by Roman Greco. I'll just
theology interpreters,
well, and I got harsher words than that, but idiots. But for a reason, and the reason was part of the plan, and what we've been given has been manifest before us, because what we have before us is the church of Paul. Christianity is the church of Paul. It is not the way. We just told you what the way was. Mm-hmm. Just like he had to tell Philip and Thomas and lots of other people, why do you keep asking me? I've taught you. And it's that sincerity and repentance issue. They still hadn't turned inward and with sincerity to seek and find. Jesus said, if you seek, you'll find it. That's what he taught. But what we've been given was part of the purification process for the feminine. And we all, through our inner work, by the way, if you haven't done any dark night of the soul work, you'll do it there, because you will not be allowed to experience the marriage until you're done with your inner work. But that's what he taught. And he knew, and Caiaphas knew, and lots of other people knew what was coming and the purpose of it. But we will all crucify the distorted feminine on that cross within us.
That's why the shadow work is important, because the shadow is the dark feminine. It's all of the woundings and all of that stuff. And that's why they have to be united, and it has to be purified. Oh.
And how do you kill that? How do you kill a thought form? She must be pierced on the cross in you. And that the lifeblood of that distorted feminine has to leave, and the sim card, the water, has to leave. And when that happens, then the divine masculine will say, now you can embrace me in the upper room.
Oh, good. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So,
oh, as Daryl would say, that's so God.
I'm not saying Paul is necessarily bad. I'm not his big fan, but I don't believe he ever existed. I believe he was Titus. But my first, so just as Jesus said in the Gospel of Philip, when you find out truth, you're first pissed off, and I was. When I discovered all this, I was really, really upset.
Well, you end up feeling like you got duped.
Yeah. But then once you turn inward and start doing the work, you realize that it's part of the ride, and it feels like the part of the ride that goes straight down and your heart goes up to the top of your head. But
and you're screaming bloody murder all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you say, when the divine feminine, or when the distorted feminine is being crucified within you, and you're doing all that dark night of the soul work, when you can from there say, Father, forgive them.
Yes.
They know not what they do. When you can love even that as your very own soul.
That's right.
She will be pierced.
Yep.
And it will be, you can say, it is finished.
That's right.
And go to the wedding.
And that is when new life begins, because you get pierced with a new seed of life, which then alters and changes you. So good.
It is. So I hope everybody.
I'm so happy.
I am too.
This has been needed to be discussed for such a long time.
Well, it's proof that we are entering that, which is what excites me. And I know there's some people that are troubled right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I would just say to you, first of all, my experience doesn't matter to you. Shouldn't. Carrie's shouldn't matter either. Right. What we're telling you is it's time. Go in. Go in. Be pierced. Go to be married. He's waiting. He's waiting. You take. That's right. You crucify the distorted feminine so she can go to the upper room.
So they can be united once again.
Once again.
Because in death, they were separated.
Correct.
Now they're coming back together in Chaya, in salvation.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. This is the great wedding feast of the Lamb.
Big time. It's what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
One more, yep. And then we'll land the plane. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the word for lamb in Aramaic, because when I saw this, it really, oh my gosh, great dot connecting. Thank you, Spirit. Oh, wait, sorry. I got all excited. I wrote the letters backwards. It's amar, which is like a word that we say as the word or to speak, tell, and declare.
Mm-hmm.
But let me circle this. Mara. Mara,
mm-hmm.
which is the root for Maria. Mary Magdalene, Maria. And this is also the same root that means sovereignty. So the lamb, it has to do with the word. It's becoming one. It's becoming one with that which has been written genetically within us so that they could come back together. Is the word for mother. Last bit. Resh Aleph is a contracted form for the word that means to see and behold. Oh, that pierced me. This has been like what people would say. I've never said it before, but I'm going to say it right now. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever said it, but in this course of this conversation, literally nothing else needs to be said.
No. And it is the reason why you, I, Dale, and many others have been drawn to this language at this time for this reason. And some will be mad, some will be glad, some will be in between, but that's above my pay grade. That's none of my business.
All I can say is that when you go inward, when she leads you to all truth, we know that the truth will set you free.
It will. And we also know, thanks to the story of the desert, that you're going to be confronted with all the things that you've been hiding from.
Yeah, exactly.
So the marriage supper is not for weenies, guys.
It's for the courageous, the bold and the courageous and the pioneers that were willing to go where usually no man dares to venture.
It is. But that, my friends, is the marriage that no man can put asunder.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Champagne for everyone. That's like a full-on toast. That is perfect to land the plane. It is finished.
It's finished.
Steve.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much. Toda Rabah. Chalufa, joy that has just expanded and has gone everywhere. Namaste.
I am high out of my mind right now.
Me too.
All right, guys. I love you.
Until next time. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.